Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to InnoVision's second Meet the Finalists virtual reception. We have an interesting and fun hour planned as we introduce each of the finalists in the small enterprise and the education categories. Before we get started, let me review a few things about this afternoon's program. First of all, Richard and I will be monitoring the chat dialogue, so if you have a question, particularly during any of our finalists as they're talking, it's a great idea to put that into the chat, and then when we get to the Q&A section, Cole will pick up those questions and allow our audience to be able to respond to them. So Richard and I will keep an eye on that. One of InnoVision's missions is to promote collaboration, and so I'd ask that you do a couple of things. One is that you change the affiliation or add the affiliation to your name in the little Zoom chat box in the bottom corner. And second, if you'd like, to add perhaps your email or your LinkedIn URL or whatever else you might want to do into the chat box, and we'll distribute those contents to all of the attendees today. So again, it'll make it easier for people who might want to catch up with you afterwards to learn more about something that happened in today's session. Also, we'll be recording the reception today, and it'll be posted on our website tomorrow, and we'll promote it through our weekly newsletter that'll come out this weekend, as well as through Facebook and LinkedIn. So feel free to share it with all of your friends and colleagues. And so now I'd like to turn it over to Amy Robichaud, who's a member of our founding team of InnoVision and the current chair of the board. Amy?
Thank you, Michael. Hello, everyone. I'm very eager to hear from our finalists, so this will be brief. 22 years ago, a group of people passionate about innovation launched the InnoVision Awards with the mission to highlight, promote, and foster innovation. We do this through the awards program, our educational forum series, our daily LinkedIn post, and our weekly Spotlight on Innovation newsletter. Dedicated board members and our sponsors make this possible, and we're grateful for their support. Please take a few seconds to scan the list of our InnoVision sponsors, champions of innovation. Of particular note, on Contact Inc., sponsor of the upcoming November 9th awards celebration, and the South Carolina Research Authority, sponsor of this Meet the Finalists webinar series. We're very pleased to have Cole Dudley, SCRA's Director of Industry Solutions, facilitating today's webinar. Cole, before you launch the finalist introductions, please take a brief moment to tell us about your focus at SCRA.
Thank you, Amy. Such an honor to be here today. I've always been a big fan of InnoVision. I'm the Director of Industry Solutions for SCRA. We work with industry partners in the state to find out their technology needs, scout for those needs, and match them up with wonderful young companies in the state like those that are presenting today, and with our academic institutions. That the end goal of both fostering great solutions for the end companies and growing small companies in the state. Today, everyone, I'd like to give you a quick overview of how our program will proceed. First, I will ask the spokesperson for each of our finalists to introduce themselves and then introduce the team that are joining them today. We'll go around the room so that all of our finalists are introduced before we begin. And then after those introductions, we'll ask each of the organizations to give a brief overview of their innovations that they were nominated for. These will last about 5 minutes. Before we start, any questions from anyone? Okay, great. Let's get started then. In our first category, which is the Small Enterprise Awards, we have 3 companies. They are Aconabolics, with Greg Springsteen. Greg, if you introduce your team, please.
Thanks, Cole. Hi, everybody. I'm Greg Springsteen of Aconabolics, and I'm here with my co-founder, Trent Stubbs.
Great. Next, Drew Feeding Systems. Drew.
Hi, this is Drew Filter with Drew Feeding System, and I'm here with my CEO, Armando Parisi.
Hello, this is Armando.
Thank you, Armando. And then the final nomination for Small Enterprise is Veterans Ascend, Robin.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Robin Grable. I'm the CEO and founder of Veterans Ascend. On the call with us today is Neela Thompson. She's our military outreach advocate and really my other half of this company. So thank you for having us.
Thank you. In our education award category, we have the Early College High School of Charleston County, Vanessa.
Hi, everybody. I'm Vanessa Denny, founding principal at Early College High School. And on the call, I have Mr. Barrett Reese, who's assistant principal at Early College High School, and Miss Rhiannon Rainsford, who's our director of school counseling.
Thank you, Vanessa. Our next nominee is IT-oLogy with Tammy.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tammy Mainwaring, the president of IT-oLogy. And with me, I have Christy McLean, the director of programs, Rashana Jenkins, senior technical trainer, Shelby Villeneuve, director of marketing, and Dakota DeLuca, a senior technical trainer.
Thank you, Tammy. And our final nominee, the South Carolina Governor's School for Arts and Humanities, Carol.
Hey, everybody. I'm Carol Baker. I'm the director of outreach at the South Carolina School for the Arts and Humanities, and I'm joined today by Dr. Cedric Adderley, who is our school president, Melanie Trimble, who is our Spark Grant Director, who is the grant director of the program we're being recognized for, and Christina Vandiver, who is our PR Director.
Thank you, everyone. Now that we have names and faces, we will proceed to the actual award category and the presentations. Our first category is the Small Enterprise Business Award, which recognizes a small business for creative technology development or innovative technology application. The technology innovation may be applied to a product, process, or service that is intended for sale to customers or for use inside the organization. To be eligible for this award, the organization must employ fewer than 50 full-time employees or generate less than $20 million in revenue. Again, we have 3 finalists in this category, and we will start with Aconabolics. You have 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Cole. Can I get a thumbs up if my slides are shown?
They are, Greg.
Fantastic. So I'm here on behalf of Aconabolics. I think first I'd like to start off by apologizing for the name. I recognize nobody can pronounce it when you see it, but it was come up by 2 scientists, Trent and I, so you're gonna have to forgive us a little bit for that. The primary work that we're doing in Aconabolics is specializing in the synthesis of isotopically labeled metabolites. So what I want to do just over the next 2 or 3 minutes is try to explain what that sentence means and how we're trying to change diagnostics through some of the techniques that Trent and I have developed in the lab. So most simply, what Trent and I are doing is trying to apply GPS microchips to molecules. It's a bit of a metaphor, but the idea is I've got a picture of a molecule up here, and it's made of a whole bunch of atoms bonded together. And I want to take one of those atoms and I want to label it. And I want to be able to see where it goes and what it does in the body. I want to put a GPS tracker on one of those atoms. The reason for that is when you eat your lunch, you're going to break down your lunch into a bunch of compounds that are called metabolites. You're going to use these metabolites for all sorts of things, like running away from a lion or logging onto Facebook. Everything you do is due to these breakdown products of food that you generate for structure and function and energy. And we're taking these metabolites, these breakdown products of food, and we're synthesizing them directly in the lab with labels on them. Because these metabolites do some interesting things, and we can detect some interesting things that are going on in biology using them. The metabolites are spread throughout biofluids and cells, and we can take samples of those, and then we can determine what kind of metabolites were in there, and that tells us a whole lot about what's going on in biology. This field is called metabolomics. It's the study of the breakdown products of food. And this field works especially well if you can place GPS trackers on those metabolites. So what Trent and I do very specifically is we have found a way to make these metabolites with the GPS labels. If you're interested, those GPS labels are really heavy carbons. They're called C13 isotopes. And we have focused on this major pathway in biology called the Krebs cycle. A lot of people have seen it in a high school biology class, but it's what most of your food is turned into. And a couple of these compounds, for instance, isocitric acid and sisaconidic acid, first two of our products, are really, really hard to make with C13 labels, these GPS trackers, historically. They're made through fermentation vats, and getting a hold of these C13s is really hard to do. So I wanted to give you a little sense of how small the scales that we work on are. So here's one of our products, and this is sisaconidic acid, this one down on the bottom. And what I'm showing you is about 50 milligrams. That's 50 grains of sand. Something you might be able to hold in the palm of your hand, about like that. And historically in the field, that's roughly about $50,000 worth of material. And that's held back the field of metabolomics. It makes it very hard to use for diagnostics and for following reactions and a whole bunch of other useful things, just how expensive it is. So Aconabolics' key innovation is to change how these GPS labeled metabolites are made. And we've done it by generating a new pathway to synthesize these metabolites. And it's very similar to how biology does it. On the outside here is what biology does. And we found an inner pathway to recreate what biology does, but to be able to do it in the lab. Our reactions are done entirely in water, so there's no waste stream. They're from very safe starting materials, so real easy to handle. And this is going to allow now lots of other scientists out there, lots of other companies to start exploring how to further use these metabolites in metabolomics, and in particular something called metabolic flux analysis, which is the long-term push of our company, is using these metabolomics in diagnostics, particularly in cancer diagnostics, which take these breakdown products of food and turn into different things than healthy cells do. So we've just started our sales. We've just been distributing these compounds only for about 3 months now, so we're really excited to get moving forward. We have also published this work. There's a description of it on YouTube, if you want to go to it, that now has 175,000 hits. And this is Trent, my co-founder here. He's animated on there. And he talks about how this easy cycle inside of the citric acid cycle might have some interesting applications for the origins of life as well. We recently published this paper in Nature Chemistry, and Trent Stubbs, who was an undergraduate in my lab, I'm a professor at Furman, is the first undergraduate ever to publish as a first author in this journal. So right now it's Trent and I pushing forward and trying to take the company to the next level. Thank you, everybody.
Greg, that's fascinating. Your first application is in diagnostics. Sounds like it's in the market already. How soon do you think we'll actually see some application that applies to us individually?
Yeah, I think the first time you're going to see this in the hospital is in the 5 to 10 year time frame. So we're making these compounds available. And this field of metabolic flux analysis to use as diagnostics is in the lab and held back by the cost of these compounds. So we think we can really help people drive this research forward and get this into the lab in about that 5 to 10 year time frame, because we can make the compounds inexpensively available now.
Great, thank you for your presentation.
Absolutely.
And now the next company we'll listen to is Drew Feeding Systems. Drew, could you give us an overview of your technology and applications?
I'm going to let Armando introduce the beginning. Armando?
Yes. Hello, my name is Armando Parisi. I am the CEO of Drew Feeding Systems. I just would like to take a few seconds to thank our team, Mary Butler, medical device executive, and our strategy advisor. And here I'm just going to let Drew take over. As I'm only allowed just a few seconds to say this.
Okay. Hi, I am a speech pathologist who's been practicing for over 20 years with a specialty in feeding infants in hospital, clinic, and home health settings. there's a problem out there. Feeding for infants is a learned art of sucking, swallowing, and breathing outside of the womb for the first time. This is often early and all with immature brains and immature neurological systems. About a quarter of all babies who feed for the first time experience difficulties with their first feeds. So the problem is that all nipples are packaged according to age, 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, 6 to 9 months, etc. They're not packaged according to skills and development of that baby, which can be different across ages. The flow rates vary in each age category significantly, from slow to medium to fast across brands. And this leads parents to trying out different flow rates and different brands all across the market. This has changed. It's inconsistent for the babies, and it's very costly. And it leads to negative feedings with all of these changes and inconsistencies. It can cause gagging, rejection, poor latching, and all of this is happening with these immature and underdeveloped brains and causing insults that can be permanent. It's traumatic for both the baby and the parents. It can lead to medical interventions such as myself or readmissions to the hospital. Parents don't know whether to go up or down in flow rate. And why should they when all the packaging state age ranges and not skills? The most recent research shows that they're not growing out of these feeding difficulties. Instead, they're growing into toddlers and children and sometimes adolescents with feeding disorders. So what does the Drew feeding system do to solve this problem? We try and get it right within the first few feeds. Our system is comprised of 3 bottle sizes and 9 different flow rates, concentrating on more of the slow flow rates in nipples of bottles. We rely on preemies and newborns needing to be custom fit with these slower flow rates because they thrive on them better than faster ones. It's based on their skills, development, and the cues or behaviors, not age. We prevent negative experiences. But they can also grow along our brand with all 9 nipples. They may use 2 or 3 of them, but they're consistent in size, shape, and texture. They're also, as part of our system, is a pacifier and a medicine dispenser called a Heal Pro. And they all have the same size, shape, and texture, and they're more like a human breast. This leads to no transition between a bottle, a pacifier, and a medicine dispenser, which is very common with all of these different products that are available on the market. The other thing that sets us apart from other products on the market is that we give parents the power of knowledge. We provide tech support by website, live chat, live video consults if needed, where professionals teach baby cues and behaviors to tell the parents if they know how to go up or down in flow rate. What impact will we have? The Drew feeding system will ensure that babies, parents, and professionals have all of the tools necessary under one brand to promote the most positive feeding experience possible. It'll promote nutrition, growth, and brain development from the very start. It's proactive and it's preventative. It decreases cost and decreases the need for medical intervention. Most of all, it promotes baby and parent successful feedings and bonding experiences. I've been on the other end of phone calls where parents were desperate to find the answer to their baby's feeding problems. Is this a need? Absolutely. We've received all positive feedback. Parents, nurses, and professionals who have been involved in these experiences and researched this problem have all said that not only is the Drew feeding system needed, it's needed now. Thank you to everyone watching, and thank you so much to InnoVision for this opportunity.
Thank you. One quick question. Long time since I had a little child. How would a parent know when they have a feeding problem?
They can either have gagging and refusals. They can have just medical problems like dehydration and malnutrition. They can squirm. There are all different types of cues that if they're not getting enough volume in a day and they don't have wet diapers, they're not having enough bowel movements, or they're regurgitating a lot, then we know we have a problem.
Thank you. Very interesting. Next, we have Veterans Ascend. Robin, would you please tell us about your company?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, we are honored to be chosen as a finalist for this InnoVision Award. Knowing that our work is being recognized is just truly gratifying, and we really, really appreciate it. So Veterans Ascend is a woman-owned, veteran-owned company. I am a U.S. Navy veteran. I proudly served for 9 years. I joined the Navy right out of high school, and then when I got out of the Navy, I needed a resume to get an interview. Didn't have one, so I went to a resume writer. Resume writer said, no one will understand what you did in the military. But these computer skills that you've described to me, you can go get a job as an administrative assistant. Now, spoiler alert, I had just finished being certified in 2 computer programming languages in the Navy, among all the other skills that I learned in those 9 years. Fast forward several years, and I, as an HR professional and business consultant, I experienced the employer side of sourcing talent and the barriers that they face. And while completing my master's, I met an Army veteran's wife in the chat room. She commented that her husband had been out of the Army for about 6 months, could not get an interview. He was spiraling downward into depression, and she didn't know how to help him. Lightning literally struck me that day, and I said, there has to be a better way. I have to advocate for veterans, and Veterans Ascend was born. Our AI-powered talent sourcing platform translates military and civilian occupations into a skills profile, and then using algorithms that can exactly match candidates with their skills with employers who are intentionally looking to hire military talent, we can do that instantly and efficiently. Our mission is to use that AI-powered technology to remove barriers and bias, connect military talent with employers, and end unemployment and underemployment for our military veterans, service members, and their spouses. Our service is free for all of our military candidates, and employers pay a subscription fee to unlock a certain number of candidates after they fully reviewed the match on skills, location, and salary. We are a national program, proudly headquartered here in Simpsonville, South Carolina, with candidates in all 50 states and employers coast to coast. For decades, sourcing talent has been cemented in antiquated processes. Employers are wasting time and resources wading through resumes with applicants that don't have the skills they need. And in today's market, it's even worse. And on the flip side, we have our military talent that spends hours rewriting resumes, trying to fit into the civilian marketplace, only to be filtered out 95% of the time from applicant tracking systems. Our sourcing program does not use a resume or require the candidate to apply first. Instead, we make those direct connections so they can get recognized on the skills that they've had from the military and their civilian occupations. We're removing the barriers of the resume from misunderstanding military skills or gaps in their work history, and we're making that direct connection so they can get recognized on their skills. With unlimited job profiles, our employers can see how a candidate fits across their organization quickly and efficiently. They can see their salary information and how it fits into their salary range. They have to create job profiles. So it's a very intentional sourcing model. We don't scrape jobs off the internet or scrape jobs off of an employer's job board. They must go in and create a job profile, pick the exact skills they're looking for, not the tasks they need done, but the skills required of the job to get those tasks done. They set the location and the salary range, and the instant matching begins. In 2020, our algorithm was updated with a new user experience, and we also created Ability Ascend. We took the foundational technology from Veterans Ascend and created a module for people with disabilities, removing the barriers and bias for that untapped talent pool as well. Thank you for this opportunity to have our innovation recognized. One of the most important needs for our military after serving our country is employment. And we also know as employers, we're struggling to find the talent that we need for our organization. The answer is simple. Our technology delivers those connections. We've evolved, and I'll date myself here, we've evolved from getting talent out of a newspaper ad. It's time to evolve again. It's time to stop wasting time and stop wasting the opportunity to connect with our service members and veterans who have served our country, along with their military spouses. It's time to let veterans ascend. Thank you again, and congratulations to all the finalists.
Thank you, Robin. I work with industry quite a bit in my job, and when I ask them how I can help them, the #1 response is always workforce, finding talent. When we recruit companies to the state, it's the same. So am I understanding that your veterans then, if they're maybe less skilled in actually writing resumes, but have technical skills, your AI system will pull those tech skills off and match them to the job?
So we translate their military occupation. So all they have to do is put in, they were in the Army, they were served in infantry. We translate that to a list of skills. So we looked at the actual job description for someone in the infantry and the skills that they need to do that job. And it's more than security, right? So there's more to a title that our military has in their wheelhouse. So we translate that into a skills profile. They can edit it. So if they don't want to do what they did in the military, they can take out skills associated with that. They can add in skills if they had additional training. And then that skills profile is matched to the employer's job profile. When they pick the job profile, they pick the skills they're looking for, and then our algorithm matches the skills profile with the job profile. Kind of like online dating meets talent sourcing.
Great. I will remind our audience to please put any questions you have in the chat so that we can ask those. And we will be happy to go back to any of these companies. At this point, we're ready to move on to our second award category, which is the Education Award finalists. The Innovation Education Award recognizes innovation in education with a focus on inventive applications of technologies that will improve education in South Carolina. The 3 finalists again are the Early College High School of Charleston County, IT-oLogy, and the South Carolina Governor's School for Art and Humanity. At this point, we'll start with the Early College High School. Vanessa, if you would please tell us about your company.
Sure. I'd like to, first of all, thank you for having us. We're incredibly honored by being selected as a finalist for the InnoVision Awards. So First off, we don't really use innovative technology. Really our format and the most innovative part of who we are is our partnership and where we are. So Charleston County School District supports Early College High School. We're a fully public school, and we have a partnership between CCSD and Trident Technical College. So we have just about 400 students located here on Trident Tech's Palmer campus. We draw upon the power of place every single day. So at any given moment, you'll see college students interacting with our high school students that might be as young as 14 years old as freshmen. We serve a very diverse group of students from all over Charleston County. Our students have the drive and the desire to complete an associate's degree while simultaneously working to complete their high school coursework as required by the state of South Carolina. We provide really true opportunity and access to groups of students who are traditionally unrepresented on college campuses. The majority of our students, about 74%, self-identify as first-generation college goers, which means that either their parents or their grandparents or their custodial grandparents did not attend college. Interestingly enough, the state identifies about 76% of our student body as persons in poverty, and we do serve the majority of our students are members of minority populations. We think that early college will really change and shape the entire Charleston community because of our commitment to preparing all students for college and career readiness through both academic and social supports. We've garnered in our first year of graduates a 100% on-time graduation among our first class. And together, the first class of students earned over 3,000 transferable college credits. 41% of that first graduating class graduated with their full associate's degree. And so we're really proud of those results from that inaugural graduating class. We ensure that all students have access to this opportunity. It's not just about taking a group of students and placing them on a college class and having them fend for themselves in college classes. We understand that our intervention potentially changes the trajectory of their educational path and could impact generations to come. We do that through our universal support, which is AVID, and that acronym stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. All of our students take an AVID class. So it's both a class and a way of learning. And all of our teachers are trained in that instructional model. We're recognized as a school-wide site of distinction, and that's a national distinction or accredited by the AVID organization. We remove obstacles from students and provide support for them so that AVID teacher essentially acts as their case manager. Freshman year, your AVID conversation or your AVID class might focus more on how do you take notes. Sophomore year, when you start taking college classes, it might look like how do you plan out completing a major term paper by the end of the term. And senior year, it might look more like how do you complete the FAFSA, which just opened October 1st. So we're venturing into those waters now. It explicitly teaches students the skills of a successful college goer or a successful student. Our unparalleled teaching faculty supports staff by prioritizing student supports. They're incredibly intentional about delivering those supports. Those supports could look like one-on-one meetings with the AVID teacher. It could look like students attending academic lab, which is another innovation that we have at early college, where students attend this lab and they receive additional subject area-based instruction from 3 certified teachers, 2 are certified in the area of mathematics and 1 in English. It could potentially look like an AVID teacher collaborating with a college professor to ensure that a student understands the requirements of the course and what needs to be done to be successful. We, at this time, boast a 90% C or better rate in our college classes, and we also boast end of course exam scores that are among the district's highest. We're really proud that 100% of our currently enrolled students are on track to graduate, and 92% of our currently enrolled students have completed at least 1 college class. And we're talking about some students that are as young as 15 years old. At a traditional high school, these students would probably be tracked into a CP type tracking system, but here, all of our students take dual credit classes as soon as they demonstrate the readiness to do so. We believe that we provide a really clear pathway for all students, regardless of their income level, their zip code, their race, or their ethnicity, to a future filled with success, where they're intellectually confident and independent people who seize opportunity to continually better themselves, the communities, and the world.
So Vanessa, we have a question for you from the chat.
Sure.
The question is, how are students selected to attend your program?
Yeah, that's a great question. So students from all over Charleston County School District can apply. You just have to be a resident. We do look for a minimum MAP score from the 8th grade year, which is in the middle quartile. So we're not necessarily accepting students who are all, at top 10% of their class or anything like that. We're looking for middle quartile students, which means, 25th to 76th percentile roughly. From there, we look at 5 categories. We look at a student's attendance history, their behavior history. Obviously, we look at students' grades, and then we have a special circumstances category. We look at whether or not they have an IEP. If they do, that's an additional bonus, and whether they're first generation in their family to attend college.
Very good. Very good. Well, I know I'm very proud of our entire technical college system here in South Carolina. It's something we certainly advertise when we're recruiting companies into the state. So thank you for your work there.
They've been a wonderful partner. We are really fortunate to be here.
The next nominee and finalist in the education category is IT-oLogy. Tammy, we're waiting to hear from you.
Okay, first let me say thank you to the innovation team. IT-oLogy is very honored to participate as a finalist in your program that recognizes innovation and education. A little bit about IT-oLogy. We're a nonprofit and we work to grow the number of IT professionals in South Carolina. Our mission is to promote, teach, and grow a mix of very important, diverse talent to fill the growing number of crucial IT jobs in our state. And I did have a did you know question, but Cole and Robin already discussed this. Our project or program is around veterans as well. And the #1 requested service from veterans is employment training and assistance. We're coming from the feeder end of that with our program. So our program is called IDLE in a Box, and it's a tech-based interactive IT certification program. It was a safe and seamless way, and this is how we came up with it during the pandemic, for our veterans to keep learning during the pandemic and gain certifications. The value of IDLE in a Box is that it helps our veterans, one of our most high impact populations in South Carolina, to either enter at a foundational level or relaunch a career in the IT field and fill a critical need that we have in the state. Veterans are the perfect population for this program. And when I say IDLE in a Box, just I know that's an acronym. Think of it as IT certification. So any IT certification in a box. Veterans are disciplined team players. They can hit the ground running. They already have skills acquired from the military. And of course, they have those most important interpersonal and business skills. We chose IDLE IT certification for the content because it's very business focused. It's not very technical. It's foundational and it's globally recognized around the world. Our program is innovative because we have leveraged all kinds of programs and technologies, devices, social media, subscription services, and we feel like we have provided the ultimate convenience and flexibility to our veterans while they are learning. So for convenience, we provide all the materials in one place on one device, and the veterans have 24/7 access. We delivered a box full of materials to every veteran to their doorstep. That's IDLE in a Box. And that was a mix of technology, supplies, materials. One of the great things we did, we got each veteran an Amazon Fire, and we preloaded an IDLE Cert app, which is awesome. Kindle books like study books and study guides. And the great thing about this, we had the Kindle Unlimited, so the veterans could find study guides and books under Kindle Unlimited, and one click and they could share them with everybody. So everything the veterans needed was right at their fingertips. And we feel like that was important so they could concentrate on the learning, the interaction, and the collaborative engagement with their classmates. Now, the flexibility part of it, they could log in from wherever they were, from any device, to join other students on IT-oLogy's, another resource we found, live platform. A live instructor taught the class and the lessons were very interactive. They could schedule one-on-one personalized learning time or office hours with the instructor or extra study sessions. and they participated. All of the activities were hands-on, catering to all the diverse learning styles. So at the conclusion of the Idle in a Box program, the veterans had a highly recognized IT certification, and they got to keep everything in the box, which they were thrilled about, so they could reference this when they went back to their organizations and wanted to implement some of the things they learned. I'm excited to report that the veterans in our community across South Carolina participated with a 98% success rate for certification and growth in the IT career arena. The students overwhelmingly agreed that the mix of materials, learning style activities were great for their engagement. They said the week flew by, they were never bored. Most importantly, they felt confident about their new skill set and taking the certification exam. So IT-oLogy is extremely honored and proud to have had the opportunity through our program to give back and support South Carolina's veteran community, as they have given and sacrificed so much for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Do you specialize in any certain area, especially with veterans? I would think cybersecurity, or is it a broad-based program?
No, we can offer, one of the security courses is CompTIA Security Plus, but we have several certifications. The IDLE is more of a business and the project management professional. And then we have several technical CompTIA type certifications that we offer. So we could really employ this with any of the IT certifications.
Okay, great, thank you. And our final finalist in the education category is the South Carolina Governor's School for Arts and Humanities. Carol, would you please tell us about your school?
Sure thing. First of all, I also want to extend our thanks. It's fantastic to be rounding out such a fantastic group of finalists today. Vanessa, I'm like you. We are also not a technology-driven innovation. This is more about partnerships and research. So I'm excited to let you know a little bit about one of our outreach programs. So the Governor's School mission is two parts. We teach our own students in an environment of artistic excellence. These are high school students who are emerging artists, and they live here on our campus. But a lot of folks don't realize we also have a mission to serve the state of South Carolina and to serve arts teachers and students beyond our Greenville campus. And that is what we're charged with doing. And that's what we're here to talk about today. One of those programs is called Spark. It is inspiring tomorrow's readers through drama. And it is a needs-driven program. It was a program that was started about 5 years ago when we started hearing rumors of some legislation that was pretty significant. A legislation called Read to Succeed, which requires that all third grade students in South Carolina meet certain reading benchmarks. If they cannot meet those benchmarks, they are potentially at risk for being retained. And we know that that is a pipeline to prison issue. We do not want students being retained at all if we can possibly help with that. So we got our heads together and thought, where is it that the arts can be part of the solution? And we know that there's an authentic story connection with story, drama, reading, literacy. And so we started really digging into that. We created a program that uses foundation level drama strategies to support the whole reader instead of just the skilled reader. So we have amazing reading specialists all around our state who really are really fantastic in knowing how to get into the technical parts of learning how to read. Where we step in is actually helping students maybe feel a little bit about these stories, be able to bring them to life, to connect with characters, to be able to potentially see things from a different perspective or a point of view, with the goal of researching and measuring whether or not we can impact their motivation to read. Because at the end of the day, they can have all the skills they want in the world. If they don't actually want to pick up that book, we've only gotten so far. So the program that we use helps students use these really foundation level programs, activities and skills to dive into stories. And it's a partnership program. So what makes it so exciting is that we are partnering with the South Carolina Department of Education, the University of South Carolina, the South Carolina Arts Commission, and the Governor's School, which are 4 major state agencies. If you talk to our arts education colleagues around the country, this is actually really unusual. We do not see this level of state level collaboration to make sure that this is evidence-based, this is research-driven, that we are doing the work that we need to do to support these students to push them through to that next level. We've recently been awarded a National Research Award, so we're really excited about that as well. And also are now phasing into a new transition. We've been awarded $3.7 million to expand the program statewide. We will be working with 3rd grade students in schools that have at least 60% or higher reading struggling problems. Students who are really, really struggling with the entire population of students. And I think any one of us in the room would know that we need some really good, strong readers. We need good, strong mathematicians, but we also need good creatives and good folks who know how to work together as a team and an ensemble. And then it's the whole picture that really brings that successful 21st century graduate. So we're excited to see where this goes. We're really, really thrilled that this type of innovation has been recognized as part of InnoVision's selection process. And we just look forward to seeing what's next.
Thank you, Carol. Curious, how would a parent know if their child might get access to this? And if their school isn't offering it, is there any way they could get it individually for their child?
We currently are a partnership-based program, so we actually work with schools that have been identified by the State Department of Education. So the department lets us know which schools they feel are the most at risk for this particular situation, and we target to those particular students. We do not have an individual enrollment program at this point, but we look towards sustainability. This is a 3-year grant model where we scale up, and then at that 3-year model, we will reevaluate and see what comes next in the process.
Good luck expanding that.
Thank
you. At this point, we're done with our presentations, and I would welcome questions from the audience. Please put them in the chat box. I do have one question in the chat here for Tammy. And the question is, how do you serve, or do you serve veterans all across South Carolina with the ITIL in a box? And do you serve veterans outside of South Carolina?
Thank you. Yes, we serve veterans in South Carolina, and we would serve veterans anywhere that wanted to come and work in South Carolina. We're trying to get folks into the South Carolina workforce. But that's the great thing about the virtual program, is that it's very expandable. So thank you for the question.
Cole, I have a question for Vanessa. She was talking, and in fact, it's a follow-up, I think, on Karen's question about how are students selected. And if I heard you right, Vanessa, you're looking to at the 2 middle quartiles. So what does that mean for the other 2 quartiles? I guess the one I was thinking specifically was the top quartile. Is there another program that meets their needs, or how does that work?
Thanks for the question. Yeah, so we'll accept students in the top quartile. We will not accept students in the bottom quartile because there's just an obstacle with attending those college courses in their sophomore year that is sort of an insurmountable obstacle, but we will accept students in the top quartile.
Okay, but I assume that you, from an admissions perspective, the focus is on the middle 2 quartiles. Is my understanding that right?
Exactly. Our focus is really on the middle 2 quartiles, finding first-generation students who are identified as persons in poverty by our state. Sure, makes sense. But is there any, so in the top, is there another program or similar program that might address them, or not that you know of? So I always point to our partnering school in Charleston County School District, which is Academic Magnet High School. When I get that question, we're really, Early College was founded to sort of diversify offerings in Charleston County, knowing that Academic Magnet already existed, as did School of the Arts and some other schools that have very rich honors programs. Excellent. Thank you. Sure. There's a Cole, I don't know if you see it here. There's a question for Aconabolics.
Oh, I do see that. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, I put it on there. I just-
Manufacturing yourself, or are you partnering with another organization? First question. And then your second question, Greg, and sales and distribution, are you handling that yourself?
It's a great question. So we are doing manufacturing ourselves. In fact, we're doing it right behind us. This is done on a small enough scale. Really, these are just grains of sand, a mountain of material. So we can do all of that ourselves. The world's supply of it could be held in the palm of one's hand. As far as distribution, we have a major international distribution partner that we're working with, and that helps us to reach all the scientists that we need to.
So Cole, I have a follow-up question for Greg. It goes back to one of your slides where you were talking about that handful. I can't get that out of my mind, right? This handful of sand being $50,000. I want to get in the sand business here. But I don't know if you're at liberty to disclose, but how much would you sell that for? You can maybe tell us in relative terms, or I'm just trying to get a sense of how you're approaching that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've got a bottle of one of our products right here. Pull that back a little bit. And you probably can't see it because I can barely see it either. So we'll sell these in 1 milligram amounts. And 1 milligram is really one small grain of sand. So you got to peer very closely to see this. And so this is what a typical scientist would buy, is this 1 milligram at a time. And so our costs are significantly below what the manufacturing costs have been beforehand. So you can go onto our distributor's website and they'll sell this 1 milligram for about Trent can correct me if I'm wrong here, $370. They'll buy it from us for less than that, but there's the premium for them reaching out to customers. But we can get this out to researchers at a significant discount, just furthering the research that can be done with these compounds.
So if I'm doing the quick math to scale that up to 50 to be equivalent to your handful, that's, let's see, that's 15,000. So you're doing it about 1/3 of what the going cost. Did I get the right number of zeros in there?
I got to be a little careful with all the costs out there, but I can say that we are doing it better than that.
Okay, excellent. So that's a game changer.
Yes, I agree.
We have a couple more questions here in the chat. For Veterans Ascend, they're jumping. How do you anticipate your technology will need to change over time?
Great question. So we already have plans to use the technology for other barriers, untapped talent pools, such as graduates, first responders, artists, athletes, and people with criminal records, so previously incarcerated. We also are looking at how we can integrate our employers' job descriptions and get that process a little bit faster for them, even though it takes less than a minute to create a job profile. But we'll have to keep constantly looking at the user experience in our program and how we can continue to just get the recognition of the skills in the forefront while also answering the call with what the employers need. So great question. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll move a little more quickly now. We have a number of questions. Tammy with IT-oLogy, with the high testing success rate of veterans, are they applying for and getting jobs in tech?
Yes, the certification that we offered, ITIL, is very foundational. It's business and it goes across the entire business. So it will allow a veteran to go in the service desk or the help desk. And then when they get their feet wet and learn about the company's technology, they can certainly move up in the company. So it is a very good certification for entry level and getting your feet in on the ground.
And we have a question. Thank you, Tammy. We have a question for Carol. What is needed to get SPARK programs across the state to more completely address the pipeline to prison?
That's a great question. I think there's a couple of things there, but one of the big things we're dealing with actually is training. So getting teachers trained in how to do this. So drama education, especially at the elementary level, is not necessarily something we see across the board. It's what I would consider almost an urban privileged art form. We just don't see it that commonly. So what we're working on very, very aggressively is a training model where we can get teaching artists, where we can get teachers comfortable with using these strategies so that they don't need outside folks to come in. And if we can get them up and running on their own, we can then move on to the next school and get that program up and running there, and so on and so on. So the idea is to sort of exponentially build out through a professional learning model. And of course, that requires all the normal things like funding and skills and strategies and all of that. But what we do have, and what we're so fortunate to have in South Carolina, is a really, really amazing team of exceptional drama specialists. We've been very, very fortunate to have some really strong leaders. So if we can keep that momentum going, I think we'll be in good shape.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We're getting towards the end of the hour here. So at this point, we'll start wrapping up. This has been great. I've really enjoyed all the presentations. You all are doing wonderful work, and it's so good to see people having success that are actually helping us as a country and as a community. Thank you for your creativity. Thank you for your persistence. Please don't lose the energy. Keep going. We all need you. It's been wonderful to see how much innovation is just being embraced by both the educational community and our small enterprises in the state. I know I was drawn here by the excitement of the state. I spent quite a bit of my time in Austin, Texas, which has a reputation, but I like what's going on in South Carolina at this point.
Hey, Cole, I think, in fact, I'm going to ask everyone, you've done a super job today. Could everyone kind of give Cole and our finalists kind of a big Zoom thank you, congratulations to everybody. This has been a phenomenal opportunity to learn what's happening here. So thank you, Cole.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there
Wonderful.
you go. I like that.
Yeah.
In fact, I love the Christina. I love the clapping hands. These are our Zoom experts who use the technology. This is wonderful. Gotta love it. Vanessa, same thing. Gotta love it. Okay, super. And for those of you who want to meet more of the finalists, we'll be here next week at the same time to recognize the finalists in the technology application and the sustainability award categories. So please visit InnoVisionAwards.org website for links to those Zoom celebrations. We hope we can see you then. And also, don't forget the signature event of InnoVision is our award celebration, which is scheduled for November 9th, where we will announce the winners. So if you've been listening here today and had the same difficulty that Cole and I have had trying to figure out, I wonder who's going to be the winner in each of these categories, well, you're not alone. So if you want to join us on the 9th, you'll actually get a chance to find out who they are, or at least who our judges thought. And that's a tough act to follow. So again, thank you, Cole. Thank you all for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
All right.
Thank you, InnoVision.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you on InnoVision. It's a wonderful program. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you,
Bye,
Mike.
everyone.